am here where y'all at. Never friend from no.
Cheers.
where we're here to inspire and motivate and sometimes get a laugh out, and hopefully over time you guys will feel like we're family. But like our topic for today is parenting. A lot of people have their fears and their doubts or excitements or presumptions or ideas about parenting, and we want to give you our perspective of parenting, the yin and yang of parenting, like the balance between what you think the good things are, what you think the bad things are. So we'll get into it from let's start out in the beginning, like pregnancy part. How was pregnancy for you, Boo?
You've had two babies, so you have the best um view on a lot of things.
Well, I've never had I've never had a baby. I never had a single baby. Yeah. So how was
Honestly, it was not that bad. Honestly, being pregnant was like, the first trimester was a lot of emotions and I mean, different people have like the morning sickness or they crave a certain food because their body wants to eat a lot of, like they're missing a vitamin or something like that. Um, and then uh, the second trimester is great. You feel a lot of motivated. Your body's just kicking butt, making cells, growing a little baby, and you can like feel this future person wiggling inside of you. Or you're still tired, but most of the time you got energy. And then by the third trimester, you're like exhausted, you're just super hungry and tired, and you pee all the time. Like it's a nonstop to the toilet. You laugh and you pee. That was very fun. I one time thought my water broke because I sneezed, and yeah, I peed in the kitchen. But
I remember that.
yeah, I
Babe,
was
my
so
water broke.
scared. And you were like,
I'm
"Is
like,
it still?" Or whatever. I don't know
but
what you said
I'm
next.
like, I was like, do you have to pee? And he was like, maybe it was just a little tinkle.
Yeah. Little drip and drop there and there. At least it was on the kitchen, man. Of all the floors, it happened somewhere where you could.
What was the smoothest for you? Because it's different for every woman. What was the smoothest
Yeah.
time period in pregnancy? The smoothest time?
The smoothest time?
It was a piece of cake. You were just walking around where you were hiking and
Yeah, because I was really active the whole time, honestly. I was like, when I first got pregnant, I had a job where I was walking like at least 5 miles a day. So I was already in that routine of like moving and whatnot. And then I just kept doing that. And we lived in a place that had 3 flights of stairs, right? And which sounds like a bummer, but when by the time that I was in my third trimester and I was still walking up all those stairs, bringing up groceries and whatnot, it really helped me to have the baby, you know? And I feel like that was a blessing and a curse because I was exhausted. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I had some Braxton Hicks contractions coming up those stairs. But afterwards, um, I'm grateful because a lot of people, I really feel like they don't underestimate, like birth is crazy. Labor,
yeah.
crazy. You
Well,
can't, they,
I know the toughest part of the pregnancy came like what, a week before when we went swimming.
yeah. Yeah, a
And
day before, 24
yeah,
hours before, like,
yeah, and baby matcha just flipped over like nope.
yep,
And
yep.
yeah.
Now I like entered the water, and all of a sudden I was like, my sciatica in my back was in pain, and it would just stay in pain for until I had Nova. So,
From my perspective as the father,
I was
pregnancy
about to
was
ask.
great. I like pregnant Liz. Pregnant Liz is a happy,
What is
like,
pregnant with?
eat snacks,
I was about
binge
to say
watch as
fat.
many uh movies and shows. It was the
I was
best
laughing.
times. Like,
I didn't want to
yeah.
move. I
It got
mean,
rough
washing
once we couldn't
dishes.
go to the movies anymore. Like, going to the movies was
Oh
bad when
my
it was like, oh
God.
no, the baby.
Yeah, I remember that we were in, I forgot about that. It was so loud. It like hurt my belly the whole time. We were watching the movie and it was like clenching. I forgot all because the sound waves were hurting Nova. I didn't because it was like louder for him. That was uh really bad.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
again,
poor baby Matcha.
if you guys are just joining us watching live while we record this, we're talking about parenting, like the perspective of parenting and like what it's like, this is called the yin, the yang, and the matcha. So we're talking about like the good, not necessarily the bad, but the pros and cons,
It's like
the
a balance.
happies, the highs and lows
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
things, you know? Yeah. Um, so we're getting to the pregnancy part, but once Nova got here, how was it
Hmm.
for you when you first got to hold him and when he came out and stuff like that?
Oh,
How was,
when I
as
got
a
to
first
hold
time
him,
mom? Yeah, first time mom. How was that?
oh my favorite memory of that time, like post birth, I think that's what it's called after I had the baby, was when he was laying on me and you said, "Hey baby," and this
Oh,
little tiny guy went from one side, inched his little head, and looked right at you. He couldn't even see you. He just knew your voice. That was my
yeah.
favorite memory. Um, but he was so special. I loved his little nose freckles, which that I learned those are just sweat glands. I thought they were nose
Oh,
freckles, but he was a little pretty little man, and he had a lot of hair, and I was grateful and blessed that I could feed him right away, which is the best.
yeah.
What about you though, Boo? Was any, I mean, the traumatic part?
Oh, for me, um, having Anaya,
Hmm.
that was a whole different experience. Um,
Yeah.
um, because it was nervousness, like it was the first time, uh,
Hmm.
not knowing if I was going to be an adequate father, just
Oh, Boo Boo.
those natural fears,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
having a baby girl, knowing I had to protect her in this creepy, crazy world, but
Hmm.
having Nova was a lot different in the sense of when he was born, he wasn't breathing, right? So
Yeah.
you couldn't see it, but I
Uh-huh.
could see it. And they stuck this tube down his throat
The,
and like pumped his
hmm.
stomach out and like
Yeah.
because a little bit of the embryonic fluid got into him in his stomach, they had to pump it out. Um, but they kept smacking him, and he wasn't moving, he
Oh
wasn't
my
breathing like
gosh.
that. And then um, they they turned him over, right, and put him on the palm of their hand, was popping his butt and rubbing his back, right. And
Uh-huh.
then she just left him for a little bit under that heated lamp.
And all
And
of a
this
sudden,
Joker, like all of a sudden, he started like pulling the tube out of his mouth, like
yeah.
no, and he started to fight, right? So
Yeah,
much so
everything.
that so much so that he did a push up, like a
Yeah.
complete push up,
Less than
like
he wasn't even
and
there for
that
like he was there for
yeah, that for me made it like my first proud dad moment. Like
uh
dang, he's a G, like he's a father, and I knew he was gonna be okay then. But
yeah.
that was super scary. But going into that, like, what are the what are the fears of like being a first time parent? Like, what is it called? SID? What is the sudden infant death
Oh yeah,
syndrome
that
or
was
something like that?
yeah, that was
That's scary.
really scary. Yeah, 'cause I remember the first like when you after you have a baby, you have like all this adrenaline and you just want to stay awake the whole time and then about a week after it wears off and you're exhausted. This is a female's
Yeah.
perspective. So all of a sudden I'm like my body hurts. I'm not getting enough sleep because I'm up all night feeding baby Nova and I'm like still dealing with my hormones, right? But then you have to know back in your mind is like if he doesn't get burped, he's gonna choke. And if he's
Mm-hmm.
not wrapped up, he could choke. he could scratch his
Mm-hmm.
face. And I remember it was like every time I napped, I would have a different nightmare for like 2 weeks straight. I would have these crazy nightmares of just like the most irrational fears, period. Like him falling on rocks, and he's like a 1 week old baby. And like, what is
Yeah.
this? But it was all these fears were happening because I had never been a parent before. And it was really
Yeah.
interesting because um our daughter Anaya, so before I had Nova, I was like this happy best friend type with her. And I could just
Mm-hmm.
freely, let's climb trees, let's jump on things, let's jump on rocks. Like I had no fear. And I was like, she should have no fear. We should just do whatever kids do, right? We should just climb
Yeah.
on walls and like touch weird like leaves or insects. Like I had no thought of what could happen in a bad way, you know?
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
only think of a great experience. And then after I had Nova, I was flooded with being a mom for the first time
Yeah.
ever. And so I remember being extra protective with my daughter, who I had not been protective like that. And I remember um, having to apologize because I and not understanding myself, like being like, I was like, why can't she climb on the rock? You know, like thinking to
Yeah.
myself, like, oh, just because there's mold or slime or it's wet, she can't climb on the rock. Like, when did I ever start saying that? Or, oh, she can't jump in the pool because she'll get her hair wet. I was not even like someone who cared about these things until I became a mom. And it's so crazy how those hormones and your mind changes. What about you, Boo? Like, do you feel like you had fatherly instincts? Did they like just start
um.
rumbling through?
Well, at first, um, to be honest, I didn't really know what to pull from. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean,
Mm,
I love my dad. I love my dad. You know, he has great qualities,
mm,
and I pulled for those great qualities, but I feel like I didn't have enough
mm-hmm.
to um like do the job like I do every other job that I do. You know, if I'm playing basketball, I
That's
know
some real
exactly
talk.
what I need to do, right? If I'm
Mm-hmm.
helping the kids at school, like I know exactly what I need to do. I know the game plan. I have support, I have backup, you know.
Yeah, but there's
I
no
have
book for
something to go
parenting.
to. I mean, there are, but
Yeah,
but
but it's not the
but
same.
it's more like this is your child, and I understand the significance of that. You only get one chance with
Mm-hmm.
a kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Mm-hmm.
do-overs. You can mess up, but depending on how you mess up, it could cost you a lot. It could cost them a lot. And
Yeah.
like I can remember the first time I got upset with baby Anaya for, you know, crying too much. You know, I this is like I'm busting my tail trying to help her mom and her, like just trying like feed her because she wasn't breastfed for a really long time, so it was a lot of formula, a lot of like around the clock stuff. And
Yeah.
um I just got so, because then I had to go to work about 4 a.m. because I worked at a school too. And then I had another
Yeah.
job that I worked, like it was just so much. And then I was like, why am I even mad at this little alien that came here? And then I
Yeah.
realized that necessarily wasn't me. It was me feeling like I didn't have what I needed, you know? So
Mm.
the fatherly instincts
Yeah.
didn't come. They just, over time, I gave myself a break. Like, you don't know what you're doing, so just take your time, you know? So
Yeah.
over, you know, failures that some haunt me to this day, you know. Nothing crazy
Yeah.
like putting my hands on my kids or anything like that, but just failures and not being thoughtful or considerate, that they actually don't know, they've never been here. But just the
Uh-huh.
repetition of, you know, parents expecting you to know and do what you need to do because you told them the first time, and like, wait a minute, they're one. Like they'd
Yeah.
never been one before. And then I realized, like, over time, I just put in my head, they're never going to be the age that they are ever in life. It doesn't matter how old they get. They've never
Mm.
been 16, 20, 30, 50. So
Yeah.
that learning curve is always going to be there. And I figured,
That's
you know, I need what I needed. I'm gonna give,
Mhm.
and the stuff that I don't know about, I learn, and I try not to
Yeah.
make too many so-called mistakes or decisions. Not thinking out like the consequences, like the pros and cons of
Mhm.
both. So I learned how to think quickly and think on my feet, because a little 2 year old is going to run around like faster than you can think. And if you didn't prepare, they're going to
They
exploit
gonna put
everything
everything in their mouth.
that's yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for
So
sure. And they learning real quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
we got to get
They're
the
always
teacups.
learning.
We got to get the matcha cups to look.
Yeah, the ching ching ching. What you got?
Water.
Necessary,
But
necessary.
moving right into our next concept, like we know mothers are essential um to the upbringing of your kids. But I really want to harp on the it's really crucial during those early times with your baby, that the father bonds with the kid. And a lot of times, because of the needs of society, and money and everything, the dad doesn't have a lot of time to bond with the newborn baby. Like, and that's crucial. Like, I'm telling you,
Oh,
that's like one of the biggest.
it's extremely
Yeah.
it's crucial. It's crucial because
Talk
um
about it. Talk about it.
it's a
Talk
it's like
about it.
a slight glimpse. So if mom wants to take all the control, right? All the weight, that's her baby, right? She takes
Yeah.
away actually that chance, that small glimpse, that small little window where baby is on dada knocked out. I swear I'd be like, this kid, this son, this guy can sleep for hours on his dad. He's not even hungry. He
Yeah.
sleep past his feeding time because
Yeah.
this is his dad. This is the comfort. He is smelling, he is absorbing, and I know I slept on my dad. I slept a lot. There's like pictures
Yeah.
of me back in the 90s, knocked out, sprawled out, uncomfortable, you know? But I also feel like there's a dad element of bonding because the mother is so naturally like nurturing and like that's what I think of as a mom. Not really, but like sometimes I feel like moms just like holding their baby, like keeping them away and like protecting them in that way. And dads hold their baby and protect them too. But there's a different level of you would play with Nova even when he was a newborn. You would
Yeah.
encourage Nova to do his like what is it called? Tummy
Little
time.
Tommy
Yeah,
time.
you
Yeah.
would mess with him
Be
on his
hyping him up.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like 2 weeks old and you would be teaching him balance on the bed. And it's not
Yeah.
a bad thing. You would just let him roll. You would let him learn how to roll and you were extra protective. You made sure that so we lived with someone who had a dog at the time and you made sure this dog would never come in the room and it was a very big deal to you. You like very
Yeah.
protective over your son. And I think moms in those first month especially are exhausted. We're taking care of the baby and we're taking care of ourselves and they have
Hmm.
no other like thought process to think about the outside world. Like not that we don't care about groceries, but we can't make a list right now. There's no list.
Yeah.
Like, not
No.
that we don't want to shave our legs, but who cares? Like, not that we don't want to do these things, but it's not the forethought of our brain, you know? When the baby
Yeah.
sleeps, hopefully you're taking a nap too, because your body needs that. Because even if you aren't breastfeeding, the baby is just um in a beautiful way absorbing all of the energy. And it's like an angel, and you're like the sunshine, but you ain't the sun. You don't are not an endless ball of fire. You need to rest
Yeah.
and relax. And I remember a mom telling me, she said she didn't feel herself until she went to Target and like went on her by herself like in like a little mom trip, and I was like, wow, that's crazy, because that world of just taking care of your children and taking care of the family, it absorbs you. You know,
Yeah.
you're quickly thrust into that responsibility if you're a new time mom, which is great. And it's, again, um, it'll make or break the woman. You know, you just get stronger if you decide to get stronger. You know, there's no turning back. Like, I remember directly thinking to myself, like, this is my responsibility and I'm happy with it. Like, thank you, God. And then I moved on from there. And it just,
Yeah.
my mindset changed. And I know you the whole time, I think it's, you talk about father bonding and um, like daddy's care and stuff, but it's really essential to have a support system because whether this be your husband or the father of your children, that level of the father's got your back is so important, so important. And they they just got you. They got you on whatever food you need. They got you on the laundry. They got it. Like, that's that time where you can be pampered. Not just when you're pregnant. It's that the fourth trimester is postpartum. And no one tells you how tough that is when you're pregnant. But I'm here to tell
Yeah.
you that's a really tough time. And if I didn't have Jay or my family, honestly, it was like 80% Jay and like 10% my family and 10% my friends. That's how much I needed. Actually, I'm selling myself short because Anaya was there the whole time, and Anaya was
Oh.
super helpful. So Anaya was, it was probably like 50% you, boo, 30% Anaya, 10% my family,
Oh.
and 10% my friends. Because she was like, "Are you thirsty?" And honestly, sometimes I would just stay in bed and I would be starving. But until she would say, "I'm hungry," then I would get out of bed and make breakfast for everyone because
Yeah.
I was just exhausted. And she really motivated me to even stay active. And it's super hard to push yourself because after you give birth, it's it's like running a marathon. It's so extreme on your body that it's not what is it? You called it something, boo boo. You called it, it's humbling. Giving birth,
Yeah.
whether it being a C-section or whatever, natural birth, is extremely humbling on a woman. And
Yeah.
I think fathers, it's can be very scary and terrifying for you. It can be like a little disturbing because you're like, the heck is coming out my mom, my wife's hoo-ha. Or it also can be like a beautiful experience, you know, like all of those emotions are in one at one time and they're extreme. But um
I mean, it wasn't that scary for either one of um our kids because with Anaya's mom, it was like
she was
barely a
she was doing
minute.
squats.
And what were you? You were
Yeah,
like 15 seconds, like in active
yeah.
labor. Like we counted to 10, and then I started to count again. I got to 5, and he was out. Like, so I didn't have time to react or like. There was
Think,
nothing. There
yeah,
was nothing I could do. It
processing.
was everything just happened so fast. So yeah, but
But prior to me
yeah,
being in active labor, how did you feel bad that I was in so much pain?
yeah. I felt bad that you got in the pool and baby Macho flipped over. Like,
Yeah.
like you were fine. You were totally fine into we got in the pool. So I suggest new parents do not go
No
swimming
swimming
during
in your
labor
last week.
because your kid is liable to breach right before you're about to go into labor.
Yeah.
So, um, but as we've been talking about
Hmm.
Anaya and Nova, and if you guys haven't noticed, we're a blended family. So I had a daughter with the ex like 8 years ago. And then I met my wife, my current wife, and we had a kid. So Anaya and Nova bring our family together as a whole. And so I wanted to talk about blended families. We're brand new to this. So we're not that much experience with it. So we're going into it, fresh. But I thought our opinion still matters, And if anybody out there has any suggestions or ideas or comments or, tips,
Questions and
feel
concerns.
free to, just like
Yeah.
uh hit us up on YouTube or on Instagram or wherever we post this. Um, but I think blended families, um, it's a challenge, but I think there's a beauty in that too, because not a lot of blended families are in good situations. One family
Yeah,
is on hard times, the other one is doing pretty good. I love the bond between Anaya and Nova. Like, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Like,
true.
and I love my brothers and sisters. Like, I know you love your brother. I love your brother too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Grunkle David. Grunkle David, if you're out there
Yeah,
and
oh,
you're
he's the
listening.
best.
What's up, brother?
Ooh, what's up, bro?
Brother.
You want to take some whey
Yeah.
protein? Ooh.
uh
Yeah, beach
yeah,
ball.
we'll have a special episode with Grunkle David on and that'll be nice and lively.
Talk to you
Full of
about
ammunition,
violence.
pun
I'm just
intended.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, but Anaya and Nova are like the best, the cutest little pair. Like, I can tell
Yeah,
Nova's gonna
Nova always
protect
misses
her.
Anaya.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Yeah,
only
baby.
tough part about it um is that her?
Soon. Yeah, it's Anaya.
Oh.
No, after this, baby. Yeah,
Love you,
yeah.
Nye.
You can have a peanut butter and fluff sandwich.
Not you.
Oh, he said love
But
you.
yeah,
Hmm?
it's a lot of getting used to the time frames. One of the hardest parts of blended families is it seems like you always have a time, like a timer on in the back of your
Mm-hmm.
head. You're always considering the time or how much time you have, and that
Yeah.
really causes issues when it comes to making
Mm-hmm.
plans or things not working out, or even disciplining. Do you want to discipline and you only have this short amount of time? You just want to have fun, but do you still want to establish, your parental boundaries, and how you want your house to be, and like the
And how
standards,
people
and
view you.
like,
I think I get a
well, I
lot of
don't care.
looks.
I really don't. For
You
me,
don't
I
want to
don't
talk
care
about
what
that?
how people view me. Yeah, I don't care how people view me. Like,
Okay.
everybody knows that. Like,
Yeah.
the view and them being a part of our lives is two different things. If they're in our inner circle, yes, I do care. But if you're not in our inner circle, then you know, tough. So, and you guys will find that out over time, listening to us and interacting with us. Like, we're open to everybody's opinions and stuff. But the
Uh-huh.
way we're trying to live our lives, we're pretty much hoping that we're the inspiration. you know we're not usually people who go with the flow or go with the latest trend. um and we
Nah.
think really hard about the decisions and the things that we do, especially how we want our family. um so
Definitely outside the
yeah.
box.
But how do you feel about blended our blended family, or how
Oh, boo,
tough or
I love
easy it
them.
is?
I feel like blended families have been around forever. I was just talking to our
Yeah.
neighbor about this. That, shoot, it's a little morbid, but we were talking about labor and whatnot. But back in the day, women would die during labor, and it was way common, way more common. Nowadays, it's like nothing. It's almost reduced to barely anything. Um, and what that would do is it would blend families because you'd have this baby who grew up without their mom. The dad had to raise the baby, but then the dad gets remarried. It just start.
Yeah.
That's one way of a blended family that was like it's like almost normal. But I love our family. I love our kids playing together and talking together because I remember that Nova wasn't saying nothing, and then Anaya would start talking to him, and all of a sudden Nova was saying a whole
Oh
bunch of
yeah.
stuff. I feel like
Yeah.
every time they spend time with each other, they just grow. And
Yeah.
Naya learns how to be a great older sister and understanding, herself and others. And then Nova just learns skills, and he learns boundaries, and he learns, maybe that wasn't right. As a 2-year-old barely can, comprehend. I mean, they can
Yeah.
comprehend a lot, but all he wants is what he wants. But he's learning a lot through Anaya being here, and every time, honestly. I don't know. I'm really grateful. I feel privileged, and I feel really lucky.
Make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the yin, the yang, the matcha is going to be around for a while. So thank you for watching, and as always, we hope you enjoy your life. Hope we inspire
helped
you,
you.
motivate you, and
For sure.
we'll see you next time. All right.
See ya.